Welcome to EdLeader with your host, Dr. Rob Jackson. Educational leadership is an ever-evolving opportunity to make a real and lasting difference in the lives of students, parents, and the community. And now, here's your host, Dr. Rob Jackson.
Hi friends, welcome to the EdLeader podcast and the latest episode in the special series on the science of reading, What Every EdLeader Should Know. I'm your host, Rob Jackson, and I want to thank you for spending time with me today. If you have not, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast on your podcast player and share it with your network of colleagues and friends. The EdLeader podcast community continues to grow worldwide because of your kind words and positive ratings. Remember, you can find show notes, links to references that are cited during each episode, and find each of the previous regular episodes and the 3 special leadership series that we have done at drrobjackson.com. Today I'd like to give a special shout out to elementary school principal Karen Wood, who routinely shares her thoughts on each episode of EdLeader on Twitter and shares the episode announcements. I'm so grateful and sincerely appreciate all the feedback I receive and would love to hear from each of you. You may find contact information for the podcast and for me at drrobjackson.com. Thank you for your support of this special series on the science of reading. I'll be interspersing this special series between regular EdLeader episodes throughout the year. You may have heard on a previous episode in the Science of Reading series that I've set a personal goal to dig into and break down each of the elements of reading comprehension. I'm going to do my best to peel back the rhetoric and get to the heart of what EdLeaders need to know about the science of reading. Speaking of getting to the heart, let's get to it. In the first episode of this series, I spent time introducing the science of reading. If you've not listened to that episode, I'd like to encourage you to spend a few moments with it as it grounds the series and undergirds the deconstruction of reading comprehension that I'm attempting. If you're looking for that episode, it's episode number 69 on the EdLeader playlist. Previous episodes in the Science of Reading series have focused on the strands of fluency, background knowledge, sight word recognition, and verbal reasoning. With this episode, we're passing the halfway mark in deconstructing the reading rope. Today, I'm pulling out the strand of literacy knowledge. Literacy knowledge is a powerful concept, but one that I'm afraid that educators may not think about teaching because assumptions are made that students just inherently know it, or perhaps picked it up along the way. Most often, that just isn't the case. I'm looking forward to breaking it down here. Before focusing on this episode's topic, please let me again highlight the foundation for this series. The science of reading is undergirded by theories of how students learn to read and comprehend text. At the very basic level is the simple view of reading theory, which states that there are 2 elements that combine to result in reading comprehension. The simple view of reading formula states decoding times language comprehension equals reading comprehension. From this grew Scarborough's reading rope as conceived by Dr. Hollis S. Scarborough. Dr. Scarborough believed that the elements of word recognition and the elements of language comprehension all weave together into the rope of reading comprehension. Just like a true rope, the more strands present and the stronger each strand is, the stronger the rope is. It's surmised that if a student is weaker in one strand, the strength of the other strand can still help the student comprehend what she is reading. The strands of word recognition include decoding, phonological awareness, and sight word recognition. The strands of language comprehension include background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. In this new podcast series, my goal is to again peel apart the individual strands of reading comprehension and build our shared understanding of what EdLeaders need to know about learning to read. So, metaphorically, we grab Scarborough's reading rope and separate the strands of word recognition and language comprehension. Within the language comprehension strands, we find the strand we're looking for today, the strand of literacy knowledge. Literacy knowledge encapsulates the understanding and mastery of print concepts, such as a book's layout. This includes everything from pre-reading skills like turning pages from right to left, reading words on a page from left to right, top to bottom. It also includes more advanced skills, like understanding the text features of a nonfiction book, like an index, table of contents, and list of exhibits in order to efficiently find information. It also includes concepts like genre and author's purpose. Literacy knowledge is clearly important, and I certainly understand why Dr. Scarborough listed it as a separate strand in her reading rope. As you might imagine, literacy knowledge moves from very simple understandings to much more complex. Early on, readers learn to differentiate between letters versus words. They learn that letter order matters, about one-to-one correspondence, the spaces between written words, and about reading left to right and top to bottom. Later, they'll learn to distinguish among genres of literature by text features. Literacy knowledge can be broken down into three main elements: print awareness, phonological awareness, and text structures or features. These elements translate into writing as well as reading. Often, students may not even realize that they're leaning into their literacy knowledge as they read and write. Some researchers add writing as a fourth standalone element of literacy knowledge. The first identified main element of literacy knowledge is print awareness. Quite simply, print awareness means understanding the organizational concepts of printed text. Printed text is organized in a specific way. We do read from left to right and top to bottom. In English, we turn pages from left to right. In other languages, text may be read the opposite direction, from right to left. At the most basic level, print awareness is recognizing when one is looking at text as opposed to pictures. This awareness comes as young children come into contact with books. As they are read to, and as they begin to pretend to read, they also begin to understand the structure of text. Young children who are not read to, or who may not have grown up in a print-rich environment, have not had the same opportunities to develop this understanding. Educators cannot assume that a child understands how a book works. For someone who is teaching an adult to read the first time, the lesson begins with the rules of reading, like which direction to use as you travel across the page. The Colorado State Department of Early Childhood has published the Colorado Early Learning and Development Guidelines to, quote, provide practical tips and points of reference that anyone can use to help kids grow physically, intellectually, and emotionally. These guidelines support children with different cultures, languages, and abilities, end quote. I've linked these guidelines in the show notes at drrobjackson.com. In the guidelines, they've shared that a student demonstrating print awareness may handle books respectfully and appropriately, distinguish between upper and lowercase letter shapes, play guessing games using letter sounds. I spy something that starts with S. Select alphabet letters that match with their sounds. Recognize the letters in my own name. Know the name for many letters of the alphabet. Recognize how printed material connects to their world and daily life. Associate pictorial symbols with objects or actions, like picture recipes and rebus stories. Recognize that print can tell people what to do. Understand that letters function to represent sounds in spoken words. Identify their name on labels or tags. The second identified main element of literacy knowledge is phonological awareness. Although phonological awareness is a separate strand in Scarborough's reading rope among the word recognition strands, it's also an element of literacy knowledge among the language comprehension strands. I'll do a deep dive into phonological awareness in a later episode. For now, I'll simply share that phonological awareness is a reference to a reader's ability to hear and differentiate the spoken sounds within words. In the context of literacy knowledge, this means that students who are phonologically aware recognize that those individual sounds in spoken words correspond to written sounds in words, and that those sounds can be changed, taken away, or added to create new sounds and new words. The Colorado Early Learning and Development Guidelines share that a reader demonstrating phonological awareness might recognize the difference between words that sound similar, break words into syllables, i.e., clap or tap them out with rhythm instruments, recognize rhyming words and alliterations, repeat rhythmic patterns in poems and songs through clapping, marching, or using instruments to beat syllables. Third among the identified main elements of literacy knowledge is text structure or text features. Similar to the way that skills build upon each other in math, knowledge of text structure also grows and builds upon previous knowledge. Early on, readers learn what makes up a simple sentence. As they grow as readers, their knowledge of text structure grows to understanding how a paragraph is constructed. Later, they'll learn how to build an essay or a narrative story, and how those are different in structure. Students learn text features of genres. For example, while fiction books may have fewer text features, they still have some, like a table of contents and chapter headings. Nonfiction text typically contain more elements, like an index, a glossary, captions, section headings and subheadings, and graphic illustrations, among other features. Knowledge of text features and structure allows students to navigate a book with little difficulty, allowing them to attend to the myriad other tasks that true reading comprehension requires. The Colorado Early Learning and Development Guidelines state that a student demonstrating knowledge of text features or text structure might use a drawing or drawing with captions to identify key characters or events in a story read aloud. Compare events in books to their own experiences. Use pictures to understand and make predictions about the topic or story in a book. Look at pictures, ask questions, and talk about the information from books. Understanding that literacy knowledge grows through exposure to a wide variety of genres, Jill Stake wrote in a December 2021 article on Scarborough's Reading Rope that a strong curriculum covers fiction, nonfiction, and poetry in all their forms. Generally speaking, the more types of reading a child encounters, the more advanced their literacy knowledge becomes. Whether a standalone element of literacy knowledge or not, writing cannot be ignored in this strand of Scarborough's Reading Rope. Writing as an element of literacy knowledge includes being familiar with writing implements, conventions, and emerging skills to communicate through written representations, symbols, and letters. Early on, students begin to experiment with writing tools and materials. They come to recognize that writing is a way of communicating for a variety of purposes, such as giving information, sharing stories, or giving an opinion. As they attempt to convey meaning through writing, they may use scribbles, shapes, pictures, and letters to represent objects, stories, experiences, or ideas. The Colorado Early Learning and Development Guidelines say that a student demonstrating the knowledge of writing might begin to develop a proper pencil grip, communicate with others with a card or a letter, use shapes, symbols, and letters to express ideas, talk about a picture or experience, describe something learned about a topic like butterflies or frogs or snow, verbally or through representations. They might ask questions and investigate topics of interest. Brain Trust tutors have shared the following strategies for helping to build a student's literacy knowledge. Expose students to a wide variety of text types like novels, informational text, graphic fiction, newspapers, magazines, encyclopedias, etc. Model using text features and have them go on a text feature scavenger hunt. Teachers might have students use graphic organizers to map a text, or compare text in English with text in other languages that do not follow the same directionality of text like Arabic or Hebrew. They might give students, especially in the early grades, plenty of opportunities to discuss what they notice about the way a variety of texts are organized. Literacy knowledge encompasses what we know about language, books, and the text within them. When children have knowledge of literacy concepts, it means that they have a foundation in all of the elements that make up conventional ways of reading, writing, and speaking. Thank you again for hanging with me. as we pull apart the strands of Scarborough's reading rope to understand what EdLeaders need to know. I'll keep pulling out the strands. Please keep sharing your feedback on Twitter at Dr_Rob_Jackson, through email, or by commenting directly on the show notes page. I hope that you enjoyed our time together. I am interested in your thoughts. Please let me know what you think, and if you think this has been helpful, please share the episode and podcast with your network of friends and colleagues. Thank you for spending time with me today, and thank you for all that you do for every student, every teacher, and every staff member. You are making a difference. If no one else has told you, I want you to know that I believe in you. Good day.
Thank you for listening to the EdLeader podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and consider leaving a review with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts so that we may continue to grow the EdLeader community. We hope that you have enjoyed your time with Dr. Jackson. Until next time.